Good evening. The Board of Trustees regular meeting is now called to order at 4:30 p.m. We welcome members of the public. Instructions on making public comment are posted in item 1 on the agenda. We ask at each item if there is public comment. The Board of Trustees recognizes June as LGBTQ Pride Month, a time to celebrate and recognize the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ plus community and their contributions. It commemorates the Stonewall riots of June 1969, which are considered a turning point in the LGBTQ plus rights movement. It is a time to celebrate the progress made in LGBTQ rights, such as the legalization of same-sex marriage and the increased visibility of LGBTQ plus individuals. Pride Month also serves as a reminder that there is still work to be done to achieve full equality for the LGBTQ plus community, both domestically and internationally. To celebrate Pride events locally, please visit napapride.com. June is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, dedicated to raising awareness about the specific mental health challenges faced by men and encouraging them to prioritize their well-being. It is about breaking stigma, promoting open conversations, and ensuring men have access to the support they need. We welcome tonight our new student trustee, Justin Dizon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Catherine, can you please do roll call?
Absolutely. Student trustee Dizon, say present.
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Kishinev.
Here.
Trustee Iverson. Trustee DeLuna is absent. Trustee Rios is not present. Who am I missing? Trustee Baker.
Here.
And Trustee Olson. Oh, Trustee Dodd, sorry.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, Student Trustee Dizon, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Which stands under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather today, it is important to acknowledge that Napa Valley College and the surrounding Napa Valley sit on the unceded traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homelands of the Miwok, Patwin, who are comprised of 3 federally recognized tribes: the Kashiel-Dahi Band of Winton Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dahi Band of Winton Indians, and the Yocha-Dahi Winton Nation, and Wapo, including the Mishawala Wapo, also known as the Onisautis peoples. As part of Napa Valley College's mission of transforming lives through excellent educational and professional opportunities that are student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented, and in accordance with the college's values of accountability, integrity, inclusion, respect, social justice, and sustainability, we make this acknowledgement. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been and continues to be perpetrated against Indigenous people, the land, and water. May we hold steady in our commitment to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice with the Miwok, Patwin, and Wapo peoples. Welcome, Trustee Rios. I am going to, if there are no objections, I'm going to ask that we move administrative services items to come before closed session. Are there any objections? Okay, thank you. And if there are no other objections, the agenda is adopted by consensus. All right, is John Kittle here via Zoom to give us a faculty association report?
He's here.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for letting me, deliver my report over Zoom today. Obviously, being on summer makes it a little hard to get to campus sometimes, and today is not an exception. I have three wonderful children running around somewhere in this house, waiting for me to feed them dinner pretty soon. Anyway, so I wanted to come at the June meeting this month, and I hope everybody is having a great summer so far. Happy summer to everybody. I just wanted to provide a brief report. It won't take too long, to say that, at the end of the semester, we tried really hard to work with the district to reach a contract, end of our contract negotiations, and it just didn't work out. Obviously, we ran out of time before all of our faculty headed off for summer break. That said, I am really excited about coming back for summer session on Monday. I'm teaching a class along with a bunch of my other colleagues, and so we're excited to welcome the students back for summer session. But I wanted to say something that, we are really motivated still to reach a deal and reach an agreement with the district for our contract negotiations. As of June 30th, we'll go into year 2 with an expired contract, which is really concerning to us. And we've heard a lot of feedback from our faculty that they are really concerned about this uncharted territory. And I know, speaking with individual administrators, that they're not motivated to let this go on too much longer. And I'd really like to, encourage the district and to our wonderful board members to, work together to bring us an offer that's fair and that's sincere. Where indeed we met actually earlier this week with the district negotiators, even over our summer break. That's how sort of motivated we are to reach a deal. We're not obligated to do that, obviously, and but meeting over the summer means that we are really motivated to find a middle ground with the district. However, during that meeting, we did realize that there's still some misunderstandings and differences of interpretation between the association and the district, specifically as it relates to salary and the budget in general. And so we intend to continue to work with the district on those issues, and we hope the district will meet us in that effort. And so thank you so much again for allowing me to provide this report, and we hope that the board has a great summer. And thank you for everything you do in service to our institution. And thank you again for this opportunity. And the faculty's position is and always will be that we are unified in our rights as NVC faculty, ready for the challenges of the future, thankful for the lessons of the past, and passionately dedicated to the success of our students and the institution as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kinchlow. Can I ask what's for dinner? Oh, he's gone.
Tri-tip tonight.
Nice. Okay, item 4, administrative services information. Action item 4.1, 2025-2026 tentative budget. Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, President Olson, and thank you to the board for your consideration of moving this report earlier in the agenda. It allows me to meet a personal obligation later this evening. I would begin by thanking the Budget Committee, the Planning Committee, and our Business and Finance staff who have worked extensively to develop a budget process that's engaging and transparent and deliberative. And so I would begin by thanking them. This is the tentative budget, 25-26. It is intended to take effect by statute on July 1st. And as you may recall, our budget process is a dual budget process in that the tentative budget provides statutory authorization to continue operations beginning on July 1st. And the final budget, scheduled for September 15th, your review on September 15th or thereabouts, is intended to be the final budget and provides a little more time to gather additional information about revenues and expenses as we move into the new fiscal year. I would also add that prior to the final budget, we will spend a little more time at the Finance and Audit Committee doing a little deeper dive into all of the funds so that you get a comprehensive picture of the district's financial position. We're going to focus today on Fund 11, the unrestricted general fund, and Fund 12, the restricted fund, where our categorical and grant funds are located. Next slide, please. Required by state code, as I mentioned, I'm down to the middle paragraph. It was prepared utilizing a revised planning and resource allocation model that endeavored to create greater awareness, increase engagement, greater transparency, and improved communication. On the bottom paragraph, the tentative budget is presented utilizing the best information we have today. It is subject to change based on additional information, primarily, I would say primarily in the revenue side relative to our property tax revenue, in addition to implications from the federal government about what we might or might not be getting in the form of categorical and student loan funds. So there's some additional information that will be hopefully included in the fall budget. Next slide, please. Our methodology, our revenues, we spend a little time talking about how we're coming to these projections. Today, there are projections, and in September, they will be the best projections we have. And as you know, in budgets, they're never to the nickel, but they are the best information we have at that point about what we expect in terms of revenue and expenditures. The second increase in state tax revenues and other state sources are projected based on 24-25 first principal apportionment and informed to some extent, though less so for a community funded district, from the governor's May revised budget. And I'll touch on that very briefly a little later. Our property tax revenues are forecast based on the 3-year average of unsecured apportionment factors. We're hovering right around just below 4%, 3.99% as a projection for increase in property taxes for next year. Other local revenue are based upon average rate growth of the 2 previous years. Our expenditures, salaries and wages, we'll note this when we look at the numbers, are currently negotiated by the respective bargaining units, as was earlier mentioned. A current year set aside has been identified in the tentative budget as a placeholder for increased salary and benefits and reflect what's currently on the table. You'll notice as we look to next year, the set aside will be doubled. And not only will have a set aside for this year carrying forward, but for next year as well. And then total benefits costs, a pretty standard language, a projection of about a 3.2% in total benefits. Our operating expenses, we're looking at a 4% global increase, and I'll speak to some of those expenditures that were considered critical to continuing operations in a moment. Capital improvements have increased based on the available information and changes in funding sources for library subscriptions, informed by our total cost of ownership work, both in facilities and technology, and operational continuance requests. Our other outgo forecast is based on the available information, print shop, ash landfill, self-insurance, legal, and risk management. And our OPEB, our other post-employment benefits, includes medical costs for retirees and continues to include annuity costs related to CERP 1 and CERP 2 retirement incentive programs. Next slide, please. Our planning assumptions, I like to include some information about our enrollments and how it relates to our budget. You can see here how our enrollments have changed, certainly since 2021. And looking further back, they've changed more dramatically than that. However, our educational master plan is looking at enrollment stabilization, and we're looking now to be kind of stabilized. We're kind of leveling off and with some modest increases year over year. We're still confirming 24-25 and 25-26. Essentially, we are projecting very similar enrollments to this year, and we'd be happy to see another slight increase this year in the coming year as well. Our revenue, material changes in our revenue. We just spoke about property tax revenue projected at 4%. There's a slight decrease in state apportionments based on a review of past revenue and the COLA growth rate. Revenue realized from the lease of a portion of the Upper Valley campus is constant. And we have a little more time on that lease as well. An estimate of non-resident tuition fees is included, estimated today to be 60 full-time equivalent students. A forecast will be confirmed in the final budget. That's a material impact because of the continued attraction of out-of-state students. And I'll just say international students today because the federal climate may limit that. But those revenues generated from those tuitions are significantly more than a student living in California. So that could be a material change, positive change in our revenues. Next slide, please. Our planning assumptions, our faculty and classified salaries are to be determined. We have PERS contributions effectively unchanged, STIRS contributions slightly higher. Estimated change in health and welfare benefits, as I mentioned, 12%. Step and column adjustments are included on the salary schedule. Are projected out of class pay is included, and a set aside amount included in fiscal year 25 and 26 in order to project salary increases. Next slide, please. We had a process this year include several funnels into the budget process, and these are the funnels. We had a request for any strategic initiatives that look to move the college in a very specific way to advance the mission. We received several of those. We had personnel requests. We issued, the president and the cabinet issued a memorandum on May 1st authorizing what personnel additions we would make this year, and I'll spend a moment on that in just a moment. Operational continuance requests, really you need to continue to maintain operations. Facilities requests, technology requests were informed by the total cost of ownership assessments. Scroll down a little bit there, Catherine. And operational optimization, this is a new one this year. We're asking our colleagues across the campus, what can we do to be better, faster, stronger? And so we solicited requests to be more efficient, to better meet the needs of students, our faculty, and our colleagues. And we received several requests for operational optimization as well. Next slide, please. So linking planning to budget. And here's a list of the board goals, Board of Trustee goals for 25-26. I know you have them all memorized, so I'm not going to read them. Moving down to our next slide. These are the educational master plan goals, and you can look at those. I think we're all pretty familiar with those as well. And I bring these to light because it is fundamental to budget that you link planning to budget. And so this is the backdrop for our considerations in developing the budget. Next slide, please. Our planning priorities, our student equity and support success. You can see that we will this year we received 2.3 million, almost 2.4 million in Fund 12. The most recent May revised in the budget looks like at a 2.3% COLA. So we can expect that to increase by about 2.3%. And you can see the educational master plan goal alignment and the Board of Trustees goal alignment there. Instructional supplies, laptops, and devices to expand internet access is scheduled at $25,000 in Fund 12. Instructional supplies at $200,000 in Fund 12. Infrastructure improvements at $500,000 physical plant, and that is a carryover. That's from that is in Fund 12. That's some carryover from some state funds that we received a couple of years ago, and we haven't used yet, though we have plans for them. Marketing expenses at $200,000. That's not the total marketing expenses, but that's a Fund 12 expense. Next, scroll down a little bit more. I'll point this out in just a moment, but our fund balance is to be determined. And we'll notice in a moment as we look at the fund balance for this year, it's artificially inflated because we didn't spend the money that we set aside for those salaries. So you'll see that contingency is inflated well above our minimum, but it's because we haven't spent that money yet. So it's to be determined. Our projections today suggest that we're in pretty good shape ending this year but we'll have better information moving forward. Next slide, please. Our operational recommendations, personnel hires in response to student housing and other compelling needs. This is the May 1st memo issued by the President's Office. A demand on Fund 11 is $61,000 for new positions, and Fund 12, restricted funds, grant funds, et cetera, $277,000 for a total of $339,000. Our strategic initiatives, we've committed $5,000 in Fund 11 and $86,000 in Fund 12. Our Operation Continuous requests, as I mentioned, we're doing a 4% global increase, and that $266,000 you see in Fund 11, those are those requests that were considered critical to continuing operations. So the requester said, in order for me to continue operations at my current level, I need this kind of funding. So across the enterprise, across the college, those amounted to $266,000. Optimization requests, $5,000 in Fund 11 and $25,000 in Fund 12. Basic needs food support. We still have some rollover funds from lottery. We're going to devote $250,000 for student housing food support. You recall that we have one prepared meal each day, Monday through Thursday during 2 semesters. I'll share with you that that's not a sustainable source of revenue. And so we need to continue to work on how we're going to better support food for students. Total cost of ownership facilities that yielded a $96,000 investment in order to sustain equipment purchases and operational needs there. In technology, we have a really big need to fulfill technology issues. Fund 11, we have $340,000 devoted. I'll share with you where my plan is to leverage that $340,000 in a multi-year lease program for computers that will have an end of life in 4 or 5 years, and leverage that $340,000 to perhaps twice that amount on the lease basis. We also have Fund 12 at $150,000 for a total of just under $500,000. That number also includes an effort to revitalize the audio visual in most of our classrooms. I would say have a demand for upgrade there, including this room. I've been hearing about the screen for a long time. We'll have to figure out how we're going to do that. We have environmental consultant, our ash landfill, our final closure plan. I've budgeted $300,000 per year for the next 3 years in anticipation that that's going to be enough. We're still waiting on the county to get a final approval on the final closure plan. Next slide, please. Our notes to Fund 11, I just mentioned that the earmark for compensation sits there, and I'll point that out in just a moment. Number 2, the tentative budget includes additional positions considered necessary and indicated on the May 1 memo. The President's Cabinet with finance staff continue to review staffing and expenditures with the objective of making progress toward the 50%. Just a very brief report today. We had training on 50% today with several of our colleagues across the campus to bring to light ways to address our 50% law that we need to take advantage now. I know Trustee Baker was on that call as well. I hope I answered your question or didn't call you out, Trustee Baker. But it was interesting, and I am hopeful that we can make progress on that 50%. The likelihood of federal funding reductions is unknown at this time. Fund 11 may experience a significant shift of resources from Fund 12 to Fund 11 based on some of the demands, some of what we're hearing out of DC, and some of those will hit us sooner than later. But we will be beginning conversations about how we're going to fund those areas that may be defunded from the federal government. The district's subordinated liability for the River Trail Village Student Housing Project is currently funded through fiscal year 26. So what that means is there will be no demand in the fiscal year as we speak this year that ends June 30th. And we're projecting that there will not be a physical additional demand next year. We are in our years out planning. We have set money. We have projected a budget for those funds years out after that second year. but with the understanding that we'll have a little more runway to fill the building and turn that in another direction to a more positive contribution to the unrestricted general fund. Next slide, please. Our notes to the Fund 12, information from the State's Chancellor's Office indicates that while selected categorical programs will see a modest COLA increase, about 2.3%, some programs will see no revenue increases in 25-26 as a result of some challenges at the state level. Staff continues to review staffing and expenditures to appropriately reflect can be appropriately reflected in Fund 12 expenditures, and that goes to our 50% targets. Significant technology investments will be funded with restricted funds in fiscal 26 as well as Fund 11. The likelihood of federal funding reductions is unknown at this time. The unrestricted general fund may experience a significant shift of resources should federal funding be reduced or eliminated. So we continue to work through the summer to develop a contingency plan. Dr. Guerrero and I have spoken about that. We've spoken about it at the cabinet table as well, to develop a contingency plan should those funds not be available. Next slide, please. Next steps in the budget process. We need to confirm our property tax revenue. That information takes on more validity from a memo from the Treasurer's Office around mid-August. So that information will be incorporated into our final budget review. We'll review any changes as a result of the applicable state trailer bill and the budget. Reminder that the impact from the state budget is minimal for a community funded college such as ours, but it will have some impact. We'll adjust revenues and expenditures supported by further analysis. The bottom row. We will again review with the community our proposal to the superintendent president for the final budget, the district committees, and the inserted last block would be a review by all funds by the Board of Trustees, Audit and Finance Committee prior to submission to the president of submission to the Board of Trustees in September. Can we go to the numbers, Catherine? Any questions? I'm sorry. Thus, Trustee Baker.
Yeah, can you bring back the presentation? There was I had a question on, two questions on one slide. It was the one that was operational continuance, I think. So 3 or 4 back.
Excuse me.
Yeah, there you go. So 2 questions. One is about the operational continuance requests with the 4% plus 266K. Is that 266,000? Is that going to be an ongoing expense, or is that just a one-time?
Some of them are ongoing and some of them are one-time.
Other question I had was about the ash landfill.
Yes.
So you have 300,000 in there for 3 years, so that's $900,000. But it says consultant. Is that money just for the consultant, or is it the actual work?
I've projected $900,000, anticipating it will be both the work and the consulting.
Okay.
However, I've asked for the consultant to give us a rough order of magnitude on total cost, so I'm awaiting that now. Fingers crossed it's in the neighborhood, but it could be different than $900,000.
For good or different bad? Or we don't know yet.
Well, the mitigation is 1 foot of soil over the entire location and fencing it in. We already have one section fenced in, but I don't know what the cost of 1 foot of soil is.
Just buy cheap dirt.
Find some inexpensive soil. But that's once that's done, that will leave the budget and will not be an ongoing cost.
Thank you.
Further questions on the presentation piece? On to the numbers here. So if you look at the column F, that is the recommended tentative budget. You can see that we're projecting total revenues of $54 million. And the right column, column G, gives you a sense of what the variance is. So we're projecting at this point in time about 1.8 million additional dollars from total revenue. And in the far right, we give you some information about how we came to those conclusions, largely based on our projections and what we used for those projections. Let's move down to expenditures on the salaries. So you'll notice that our salaries, top line salaries, have not changed much because we're actually carrying them from the previous year. What the change you'll see in faculty salaries, the permanent faculty have actually gone down a bit on the top line, but the temporary have gone up, and that's a reflection largely of some retirees of full-time faculty and the need to backfill those with part-time faculty, certainly in the short term. You'll notice if I can take you down to lines 16 and 17. So line 16 says 872,869. That's the value of what's on the table now for the bargaining groups that we have not spent for the previous year. So because we haven't spent it, we need to plan on spending it next year. The next line, item 17, is what we'd have to spend in a total in next year to be able to meet the obligation for next year based on what's on the table today. So we are accumulating or accruing those revenues that we'll have to spend. Hopefully pretty soon we can close those deals and we'll draw on those funds. The impact I'll show you in just a moment. Our total employee benefits, you can see changes by $143,000, or excuse me, $343. And then scrolling down to total expenditures. You'll see total expenditures line 51. We're at about $3.3 million more than we spent in the previous year. But remember, that's because we had not spent those salary dollars and benefits dollars in the previous year. So looking at, scroll down a little further, Catherine. So you'll look at, let's see, line 56, and the column you can't read, but it's the middle peach column. Is that the right color? Right there. You'll see the reserve, the fund balance as a percentage of expenditures is 20.07%. That's the temporarily inflated reserve because we didn't spend the money. Recall that our minimum reserve level needs to be 16.67%. I would suggest that we always need to be higher than that, but our minimum is 16.67%. When we actually spend the money, that will actually normalize, that 20% will normalize moving forward. And you'll see 16.62%, we're hovering right there. And we're projecting a budget today at 16.69%. So 2 basis points, 200 basis points, 2 basis points above where we should be. So those are our projections. You'll see on the right the assumptions that we use, the 4%, et cetera. And I would, I know there's a lot of numbers here. I would welcome any questions on the presentation of the tentative budget.
Can you explain why the set aside for the second year is double what it is for the first year?
Because we're picking up the amount that that the salaries compound over that period.
So it's almost, but it's more than double.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I struggle with this for a long time because the logic doesn't fit for me. It didn't fit for me immediately. So I worked through this with our budget analyst and our controller. I think it's pretty close, actually. But we'll be looking at it. We don't want to spend it if we don't need to. But based on what I'm seeing, that number looks pretty close.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
Yes, Fund 12. Fund 12 is categorical and grant funding, or those funds that are restricted for a particular population, for a time frame, or for particular outcomes. These numbers are not as easy to project because changes in categorical funding or grant funding are a little more stable when we actually have them in hand. So we're looking at revenue for grants at about $845 additional $1,000 here, our final budget on the revenue side, and our $14.5 million on the right side. I'm sorry. The variance is $845,000. You'll notice that we also have salaries here in the next section, and we also have a set aside here in the next section for those Fund 12 salaries. So we have lots of programs who have faculty and staff in them and are funded by them, but we also have to set aside those funds because they all fall under the collective bargaining agreements. So this will likely change as we understand more about what the impact of federal funds are, and will likely change as we see what the COLA finally ends up to be. I think it's going to be around 2.3% for these categorical programs. You want to scroll down to the bottom? I think it's pretty close to, yeah, about $710,000 to the good. I'm sorry, scrolling a little more. Yeah, I misspoke. All the way to the bottom. There we go. So our ending fund balance is about $25,000. Effectively, you want to spend it all. And the money is not the district's until it's actually spent, and you run the risk of having to return it if you don't spend it. So you want to spend it. Okay, I would repeat my question. Are there any further questions I can answer about the tentative budget as presented?
Is there any public comment?
No, we have no public comment.
I
Move
ask for a
approval.
motion. Trustee Baker made a motion. Trustee Iverson seconded. Is there a discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Information, item 4.2, summary of the governor's May revise, Mr. Reeves.
Yes, I'd like to refer you to my written report, just a couple of quick highlights. Essentially, I've already mentioned, we won't see much impact on our primary revenue. We will see slight increases of COLA, about 2.3%. The bad news for us is that we won't see anything in the form of deferred maintenance or instructional equipment, which is an allocation that we would receive every year. We didn't receive it we won't receive it this year. We didn't receive it last year. In the previous year, they clawed back $6 million. So that directly affects what we can do in terms of instructional equipment and scheduled maintenance. There's a little more detail in my written report, so I would refer you to that.
Okay, thank you. Information, item 4.3, unrestricted general fund, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, President Olson. This is a report I think everyone could give now. We are at 92% of our budget, or 11/12ths of our budget. The far right column is the variance, is the actual versus budget, or the variance. You can see that our total revenues, we're at about 96% as of today, or about $2 million under budget. That's the 4%, obviously. We'll still see some trickling of revenue coming in, primarily from residual property tax payments coming in. We may see some other residual revenue coming in as well. Our salaries are at 87%, as I mentioned earlier, because we haven't spent those funds. Our benefits are at 85% for the same reason. Our total books and supplies, a total of 87%. So we're trending okay there. I'll share with you on the expense side, operational expenses. There's a lot of reconciliation work being done right now as we close the budget. So you can expect these expenses to increase a bit, despite the fact that we only have 3 weeks left in the fiscal year. 89% total operating expenses. The bottom line here is our total expenditures today are at 84% or at the end of May. So we're about $3.8 million under budget on the expenditure side. So our projections today are that we'll have a positive change in the fund balance. I can't share with you how positive that will be, whether it's a nickel or a dime, but we're projecting now that we're in good shape relative to presenting a balanced budget with some contribution to the reserves. And with that, I would ask if I can provide any further information on the Fund 11 report.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to action item 4.4, 5-year capital outlay and construction plan, Mr. Reeves.
Yes, thank you. If you could open that up. This year, the capital outlay plan is submitted to the Chancellor's office each year. And it's intended to provide the Chancellor's office essentially an overview of what's needed in terms of facilities across the state so they can advocate for funding. And this year looks a little different, as you may recall. I think they probably have 4 or 5 items in previous years. We've actually taken the total cost of ownership assessment that was done, and we've listed all of those facilities that are in need. Recall in the TCO, there were several red marked buildings and facilities that were essentially at end of life and required to be replaced when funding were available. This is not, these are ranked, but they are subject to change through a deliberation with staff and the Board of Trustees. So if they suggested that one of the top priorities should be something different, that's certainly within the purview of the Board of Trustees. So there are about 15 items here, again, all from the TCO, and some of them are funded partially. Some of them have no funding, and some of them are locally funded. So most of them are unfunded at this point, but it demonstrates a need for our facilities on campus. Would you like to go through the detail, or?
What's the difference between locally funded and partially funded?
Locally funded means that the college has generated some funding somewhere to support it, pull it out of its budget.
So if it's not funded at all, it would say not funded.
Yeah, locally funded or future. Let's say number 4, building 1800 physical sciences and modernization. Locally funded, that's a little bit of misleading. It's not funded at all today or future funding. So what the message is here is that if we want to do this, we need to find local funding. Local funding could be a donor, could be a bond measure, could be, funds from the institution or future funding. But they are effectively unfunded today. I think in our case, Trustee Rios, it is an accurate way to represent it. I see.
No, they don't need that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me change that because they aren't locally funded. I think if we were going to do it, it would be locally funded, but it may not be interpreted that way. Good call. Thank you. Would you just scroll down through that, Catherine, and we can at least see what's on there.
And do we have to put estimates on this or no?
They don't ask us for estimates. Okay. I would certainly entertain any questions and appreciate any further feedback.
No questions? Okay. Is there public comment?
Motion to
No, there
approve.
was not.
Trustee Dodd made a motion. Have a second? Second. Trustee Baker seconded. Is there a discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We have a few more to go, Mr. Reeves. Action item 9.5, conditional approval to award a construction contract to Midstate Construction for phase 2 of the Wine Education Center.
Thank you, President Olson. Could you open that resolution, Catherine? Thank you. Just this short backstory here. We had adopted a budget for the Wine Education Center Phase 2 last early in 25, I believe, perhaps late 24. And with that plan, the district and the foundation agreed to move forward with Phase 2 because funding had been identified. We sent bids out to all of our qualified bidders. I think there were 7 on the list of qualified bidders. We received 1 bid in response for Phase 2. That 1 bid came from Midstate Construction, who is the contractor for Phase 1. The result of their bid came in somewhat higher than our budget was forecast. And so we have regrouped with the foundation to determine how we proceed relative to identifying funding to meet Phase 2, and without obligation to the district. We have been working with the foundation with all the vendors attached to this in an effort to reduce costs on Phase 2, including the contractor. We have been making progress. However, one of the savings that can be realized sooner than later is the cost of mobilization and demobilization, which means you bring trailers and set up for construction. If Midstate does not need to demobilize, there's a savings of a significant amount for what they don't need to, when they don't need to demobilize to move from Phase 1 to Phase 2. This resolution is a conditional resolution. And what it says essentially is we are agreeable to moving forward with Midstate Construction with the condition that the total project costs don't exceed $3.6 million and that those funds would be supported with foundation, the continuing foundation support and reductions in the budget to meet that number. The reason it's here today in June is for the very reason I just mentioned. To be able to move forward on this allows us to save money on the front end on the mobilization costs. If we don't meet the budget, we don't pull the trigger on Phase 2. The option is that we rebid the project, Phase 2. There's lots of reasons why, and we've spoken with the foundation and others. We don't believe that's the best course of action today, given the national economic situation and the fact that Midstate's on site now, and they clearly have an advantage in terms of cost savings and familiarity with the project. That is clearly an option should we get there. In our meetings with the foundation, they're clearly motivated, as is the district, to come to a place where we can have a working budget that does not impact the district. This resolution is a document that essentially meets the statutory requirement for declaring in a public bid process that we did our best and that we intend to continue on the course of are willing to sign an agreement with Midstate if we meet the total project cost threshold. I know there's a lot there, but I would certainly welcome any questions.
So in short, it's not putting the district on the hook for anything financially at this point.
That's always been our objective, yes.
That sounds open-ended.
I've been pretty clear in my discussions with everyone at the foundation, as nicely as I could, that the district wouldn't be responsible for costs associated with either Phase 1 or Phase 2. The Phase 1 budget's doing just fine. It's fine. And I'll be honest with you, the two-edged sword here is that phase one came in under budget. And now phase two is over budget. So it's been, a tale of two bids. So, it is not, our objective again is that we would provide a notice to proceed if and when the district and the foundation agrees on the budget not to exceed 3,600,000, and that it's fully funded without district resources.
And I gather that phase two is completely necessary for the whole project.
That's a discussion that's out of my, it certainly completes the project, but I think there's certainly a motivation of the foundation to complete the project.
How's the capital campaign going?
I don't have any information about that.
The 3.6 million not to exceed, was that include any like change orders and stuff like that? Or would that be outside of that?
$3.6 million would be the operating budget with a contingency included in that. So the contingency would be intended to cover any change orders. The phase two project is 25 to 30% of phase one project. It's a much smaller piece of the project. And that's why we were surprised when the numbers came in the way they did.
And this still doesn't have a commercial kitchen or any kind of hospitality piece, like a kitchen that could be used for hospitality, right?
Based on what I know of the design, it has wine coolers in it, some refrigeration, but it's not a full kitchen. It's not an entertainment spot. It really is a training area for tasting, the hospitality program, the wine program.
This one's a tough one for me. Sorry. I don't have any other questions though.
Well, what would be the alternative to not approving it then?
Yeah, maybe just to piggyback off of Trustee Baker's question, is the foundation is effectively, I know we probably don't have it in writing, but is effectively guaranteeing this 3.6?
Yes, in a meeting yesterday morning, they were effectively saying, we have the money to do this. Their focus is obviously on donor money, and they want to make sure their donor funds are appropriately used, and they wanted to do everything they could to reduce the costs in phase two. So it was a verbal, that's correct.
You know,
I'll move approval.
well, if it could, Trustee, if you could do, if we could, sure we can, but, or we could save that dance and have just a little bit more discussion right now. I'm always going to offer, if you would consider, I just maybe to have some sort of this agreement, amended to some effect to make it contingent on, that funding source being coming from the foundation and whatever means, and some sort of guarantees, just so, that the college in terms of authorizing to proceed on, construction in amount not to exceed 3.6, subject to whatever conditions that we can get from the foundation in terms of assuring that financial source.
Right, but the condition is that the district is not going to be on the hook for this. So if we approve it, it doesn't mean that we're on the hook for anything. If they can't find the money, it's not going to go forward.
Correct. Well, I think what I'm saying is I believe that the board could authorize this resolution. It doesn't need to, approve it as currently shown on the screen. Obviously, the board has a choice to do that if it would like, but we could also, ask, for additional language. I don't think we need to see that. I don't need to see that language at a subsequent meeting, but just effectively, I think VP Reeves understands our intent here, at least my intent, I should say, in terms of the offering of this additional language, this additional contingency, so to speak.
I might suggest that you consider a motion that authorizes proceeding with the understanding there's no demand on district resources and a request to provide written authorization from the foundation for funding at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll amend the motion as stated by Mr. Reeves.
I will second.
Catherine, what did they say? Sorry. No, you did great. I'm sorry.
Demand for the project, there, it's not, I missed your demand part, but no
Just-
demand on our resources.
Just one quick clarifying comment. When we say no demand on resources, is that not inclusive of the existing budget that we've already obligated for project management? Or is that terminated effective phase one? And then is that built into the perspectives for phase two? I just want to clarify that because if we have already committed to some project management fees, I don't want us to back out on that because that's something that we have budgeted for already.
The district committed to construction management for phase one. And phase two construction management was part of the budget for phase two to be self-contained in that budget.
I have updated written language.
Correct, at the July meeting.
The updated written commitment, I think.
Or a verification of the budget commitment on the part of the foundation for the project. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is there any public comment on this item?
No, there's not.
So a motion was made by trustee Rios and seconded by trustee Iverson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Action item 4.6, music festival agreement, Vice President Reeves.
This is my last word for the evening. This is a proposal to engage in an agreement with STR Entertainment, commonly known as Blue Note, to do music festivals, music venue, to use the college football field as a music venue for several concerts over the course generally of over the summer. They approached the college requesting consideration of an agreement. Their initial proposal, we countered on several fronts. We countered on the value, how much would receive on a monthly basis for the field. That was increased slightly. The parking, they agreed, they initially offered $2 a space for every occupant. We have agreed at $10 a space. In addition, they did not offer any additional funds related to their sales of food, what they serve there. And so we were able to increase our revenue based on an additional amount related to their food services. We have looked at the city of Napa related to this. Our chief of police has looked at and has spoken about this possibility with other local police agencies. We have consulted college counsel on this, and I'll share with you that we're still in the final stages of this, and so I would offer that the suggested language is that this agreement is substantially complete, and that after the final details are in place, that the request is that it would allow the president to sign and engage here. This would begin, it could begin as early as late this summer. We would dedicate the football field to fencing and setup, and they would do a few this summer. And then for the next 2 summers, they would have access to the fields as well. The contract begins at execution date, and concludes on 12/31/28. There's a lot here. Our revenue projections are clearly based on how many people attend and how many events they use. Are what I think is a conservative revenue projection. Conservative. Probably $325,000 at the low end for 10 events in 1 year. And could be as much as $600,000 for 10 events in 1 year based on attendance. So the variables are number of attendees and number of events. And of course, they indicate they can do that. So it's a little bit of wait and see on that. The revenue is positive. Our budget includes our direct costs, including some staffing and some legal expenses. So the numbers I just quoted are, at least my projections are net of those expenses.
And that's for each year, correct?
Correct.
Of the 3 years?
That's correct.
How does this, I had one quick question. Sorry, go ahead.
I was asking if there's any questions. Go ahead.
Oh,
Trustee
I
Anderson.
was just gonna ask, how does this impact other projects in discussion out on the fields? I think what-
We've had discussions with others who have an interest in using the field for other programs. And we had a discussion just yesterday. And I think we're generally in agreement that this could be a phased approach, that other programs might be able to use other fields, other times of the year. And that if other programs had more expansive use for the site, that we could probably accommodate that over time. And be able to be in a good place with all programs at the end of in the next few years. So we're pretty clear with that. We will be clear with that with Blue Note. One of the changes in the contract I'm recommending is that the football field is not the dedicated site. We reserve the right to move them to another location on campus should that be in the college's interests.
Sorry, Trustee Baker, you were going to say, you had a question, no? I know you asked President for questions, but just maybe kind of shoot, because I have a lot of questions and but I just want to forecast that into my overall comment, into one comment, is that I have some discomfort in signing this agreement as drafted, even under the language. And, I like to support our cabinet in terms of giving them discretion to make, important business decisions, and the board of trustees shouldn't get involved in the weeds like this. But it's in terms of my profession, just seeing a lot of issues, and I mean, a few of them, and then saying in that overall, very supportive of this idea, and I appreciate clearly a lot of time and eye for detail was provided into this agreement. But that was the one that just in terms of initial thing is we don't have any sort of exhibit A identifying the venue, just to have some sort of perspective on exactly where is this going to go, understanding where the event, the venue is actually going to be located, just to have that idea, and relative to other the facilities on the property. We talked about utilizing parking, and of course the idea that we have an idea that we're going to work in good faith to use parking. I think just having that really baked out a little bit more, dedicating areas for parking where that's going to be. I would suspect that they've already thought about this already. Let's see. There's a lot of things in here. We talked about designated portions for production access. Where would those areas be? Or generally, what are we talking about? How much space are we talking about? I think I appreciate that not needing to get in the weeds into everything. Really not comfortable with the indemnification provisions. It's saying that, which is good, is the production team, they'll indemnify the college for any sort of claims, litigation, so on and so forth, except to the extent such losses are due to the negligence of the college, willful misconduct. I'm okay with willful misconduct and having that part of, but the idea that the production company wouldn't identify us for simple negligence. You know, we know there's this campus, the idea that somebody could go in and slip on it, or not slip, or trip over a crack. And then guess who's going to be on the hook for that? They're going to, you know, of course, ask the district to pay for that. And guess what? You know, we were negligent for not filling that crack for the past. It's been, you know, open and apparent for the past 5 years. And so as a result of that, we're on the hook. And the production company can, you know, argue that we're not responsible for that. So there's actually a lot of, and I don't want to waste everyone's time, but again, like very supportive of this idea and this concept. A lot of good detail in here, which I really appreciate. There were a lot of other details that I just would like to have covered.
I appreciate that. And there are some comments that there from council that aren't included there, but given that, I would suggest we table this until the next meeting.
That was my follow-up question too, is just tabling it for next month do anything to meet some of these other legal questions? Because it doesn't do anything to the timeline or anything, does it?
They want to schedule their talent as soon as they can. However, I think the board's comfort with the agreement is probably supersedes their need to schedule talent given the possible impacts.
Well, I would move to table it for July.
Is this something we could do on a retreat or no? Wait for a next regular meeting? Could we have answers back before next Wednesday?
I will try.
Okay. So we'll table it until we're ready to put it back on the agenda, whether it's next Wednesday or July.
Certainly.
Do we need a motion and a second for that?
No, I don't think it's your call.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. To be continued. So we are going to hold off on closed session and continue with our agenda. We have some young visitors here to speak during public comment. We don't want them to wait for an hour, and they're being gathered right now from across the campus. So if it's okay with you all, we'll go to consent, approve that, and then hopefully they'll be here for public comment in the next five or 10 minutes. Does that work for everyone? They're coming for public comment, just general, after closed session. So instead of us going to taking public comment on closed session and going to closed session, we're going to go we're going to move things around, go to consent, and then public comment general, so they can come and say hi. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. All right, so we're going to move to item 8, consent calendar. Is there any questions or discussion about our consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Okay, trustee Dodd made a motion and trustee Iverson seconded. Any public comment?
No, there's not.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Keep going. So you want me to keep going to item number 10, Catherine? Okay. General information, item number 10.1, consideration of employment agreement. Well, we can't do this right now. Why not? Because we need to discuss it in closed session.
Oh, okay. Moving on.
All right. 10.2. We'll wait on that too. Let's go to emeritus. Item 10.3, granting of emeritus status. Just want to thank big thank yous to Stephanie Burns, Dan Clemens, and Catherine Kittle for their honorable service to Napa Valley College for over 10 years. Is there any public comment on this item?
No, there's not.
May I please have a motion to approve emeritus status?
Motion to approve.
Trustee Dodd made a motion.
Seconded.
Second. Trustee Kishinev seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Is that part of the emeritus status? Free parking?
It is.
Means we expect you to come back a lot.
You might want to reconsider that now that we're charging for.
If you come for a concert, you have to pay. If you come for a college event, free parking.
Yeah, it's in the board policy, so you'll
Okay.
want to make that change.
And will she get free parking at the Blue Note events
I don't
too?
know, that's the question. The next item is Dr. Warnell. I don't think is here yet, so the next two, and Dr. Munsami stepped out as well. Do we have an update on when our guests will be here?
They are shooting for exactly 5:45.
Okay, so
I'm
we have
sorry.
5 more minutes.
You can move to 11.1, consideration to enter employment agreement.
Okay, item 11.1, consideration to enter into an employment agreement. Prior to considering this matter, as required by Government Code Section 54953C3, I am providing an oral summary on the recommendation regarding the salary and fringe benefits under the proposed contracts. Classified administrator, the district is entering into an employment agreement with James Reeves as Assistant Superintendent Vice President. Administrative services beginning July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. July 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, the Assistant Superintendent Vice President will receive a monthly salary at range 3, step J on the Vice President salary schedule, which is $19,827. Mr. Reeves will advance on the Vice President salary scale 1 step on January 1, 2026. Salary will be prorated for any partial month of service. The Assistant Superintendent Vice President shall be entitled to receive the same fringe benefits as the administrative confidential employee group. Classified administrator, the district is entering into an employment agreement with Charles Albron as Assistant Superintendent Vice President, Human Resources and Training and Development beginning July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, the Assistant Superintendent Vice President will receive a monthly salary at range 3, step 1 on the Vice President salary scale, which is $18,883. Mrs. Albron will receive longevity increment 1 on the salary schedule beginning March 1, 2026, and will advance on the salary schedule 1 step each subsequent July of this contract. Salary will be prorated for any partial month of service. The Assistant Superintendent Vice President shall be entitled to receive the same fringe benefits as the administrative confidential employee group. Is there any public comment?
No, there is not.
May I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Trustee Baker made a motion, second.
Second.
Trustee Iverson seconded. Is there discussion? Trustee Kishnev,
Well, we
sorry.
look alike.
Yeah, you guys did. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Right.
I think now you should go to your public comment on closed session and announcement of items.
Yeah, it's.
I
Is
think
that
we're
them?
coming in now.
They're coming in?
Oh,
Okay.
That's Robin.
Oh,
Dr. Warnell, I'm sorry.
okay. Let's see. So I am going to read public comment on closed session. At this time, the board will devote a total of up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session agenda items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any public comment?
There is not.
At this time, the board will not move into closed session.
Okay.
Okay,
do that.
okay,
We're all over the
let's
place
do item 14. I know, so you have to help me. Action item 14.1, BP 5040, student records, directory information, and privacy. Is there a public comment?
There is not.
May I have a motion to approve BP 5040, student records, directory information, and privacy? This is the first reading.
You're
I
doing
can
this.
provide some context to why we're asking for the the immediate expedition of this particular BP 5040 speaks to the information that's publicly accessible on our student registry. And we have a very robust, and legal counsel would say overly descriptive list of items that are on our publicly accessible student registry for students. In this particular climate, it creates conditions and circumstances where somewhat confidential student information can be accessed publicly based upon the BP itself. And so we are looking to make revisions and changes to the information that is publicly accessible back to what the legal counsel recommends is the minimum standard. So.
Any questions?
Bravo.
Yeah, good. And that's what libraries are doing also. If you don't need it, don't ask.
Can I please have a motion to approve?
I'll
To
move to
approve.
Trustee Rios approved and trustee Iverson, sorry, Kishenov seconded. You guys both have 3-syllable last names. That's what it is. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We're going to go into action item 14.2, board policy, second reading. Is there public comment?
And no, there is not.
May I have a motion?
Move to adopt.
Trustee Baker made a motion. A second. Trustee Iverson seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then we have information item 14.3, board policies, first reading. Are there any questions on those? Okay. We're ready for our visitors.
Which we don't have.
Okay. I mean, at this point, we could have gone to closed session. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. Good idea, Trustee Iverson. Okay, we're now at public comment general.
Yes.
This public comment opportunity is governed by the California Brown Act. By definition, this is an opportunity to hear concerns, perspectives, and differing vantage points. The board is not able, under the Brown Act, to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to review comment to the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing as an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will occur at this time on such items. Each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. Catherine, is there any public comment?
Yes, ma'am, there is.
So is there a Sergeant Snyder that would like to speak? And Sheriff Ortiz?
Here we go.
Good evening, board. Oscar Ortiz, Napa County Sheriff. We have about 40 speakers today. No, just kidding. We just wanted to take a little bit of time out of your meeting today. We'll be quick. But we have, as many of you know, the Sheriff's Activities League, an organization that offers sports and recreation for kids of school age. And we have several programs. One of our bigger programs, two of our bigger programs are the wrestling and the judo. And as all of you are aware, facilities, indoor space to do wrestling and judo for children is hard to come by in the Napa Valley. And throughout our history of the Sheriff's Activities, they've been around since the early 90s. We've had periods of time where we struggled to find somewhere to offer these kind of coaching. And we have volunteer members of my team of the Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Chet Schneider has been our judo coach and started that program years ago. He's been probably at 3 or 4 different homes as we somebody asked for the space that we're already at. Deputy Ward. When I was a young deputy, we brought in Deputy Ward before he was a deputy because he wanted to coach junior high wrestlers. And then we were fortunate enough to recruit him to get him to be a deputy sheriff. And he's been here with the Sheriff's Office for a very long time. And Lieutenant Maiden as well. And other sworn staff and non-sworn staff and parents volunteer just to give these kids a good outlet. One, so at this age, so they're not on their screen the whole time. I think that's important. But 2, also, we hope that when they hit high school age, they'll continue to be athletic. and not in the backseat of obviously in the backseat of our patrol cars, right? We want them to be good kids out in the community. So we wanted to take a little time out of your meeting today to thank all of you because one of our biggest program is that mat room space that was left empty when the police academy closed down. And it's just been an incredible resource for the whole community. That really emphasized what a community college is, a resource for the community. So thank you. And thank you to the coaches and the parents and thank you to all the kids. So can you guys say thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheriff Ortiz and Sergeant Schneider. I'm really impressed by all that you've done. I remember back when this program was started, I actually designed the Sheriff's Activities League logo. I was a graphic designer in my former life. So it's really fun to see how much it's grown and how much impact it has on our community. Thank you so much for visiting us today. We appreciate all of you. Keep doing good work and connecting with each other and showing up on the mat. Thank you.
And I believe Sergeant Schneider has
First row, whoever throws first.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pursuant. Public employee performance evaluation, public employee appointment, employment and conference with labor negotiator. Will return at 7 o'clock. We are back from public session. I have an announcement from closed session. In closed session, the Board of Trustees approved the following appointment to a full-time temporary at-will classified administrative assignment. Samantha Maddox as Acting Director, Facility Services from July 1, 2025 through September 30th, 2025, or until the position is filled on a regular basis, whichever occurs first. Acting Director salary will be based on Administrative Confidential Salary Schedule Range 21, Step B, $10,143 per month. Salary will be prorated for any partial month of service. And now we are going to item 10.1, consideration of employment agreement with Superintendent President. Should we wait for him? Yeah. Yeah. But I called you Trustee Iverson, so that's maybe why I don't remember. All right, item 10.1. A legislative body is required to provide an oral summary of a recommendation for a final action on the salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of local agency executives during the open meeting in which the board will take final action. This item includes a recommendation to approve the employment agreement of a superintendent president. The term of the agreement is for 3 years beginning July 1st, 2025. The salary is $261,200 per year. Dr. Powell will also receive a housing allowance and an automobile allowance. All other benefits are comparable to other management employees. This is an action item. Is there public comment?
I see no public comment.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? Trustee Iverson made a motion.
Second.
Trustee Rios seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item 10.1, acknowledgement of retiring employee. I have a resolution to read. Was right here. Is that? Okay. I had it right here. Okay, I will read it from the screen. All right, Resolution 2517 of the Board of Trustees of the Napa Valley Community College District in honor of Catherine Kittle. Whereas Catherine Kittle has served in Napa Valley College with exceptional commitment and professionalism for 11 and a half years, culminating in her role as Chief of Staff to the Superintendent President, in which she has exemplified the highest standards of service and leadership. And whereas Catherine began her distinguished career at Napa Valley College as Secretary 3, Academic Senate, and through intelligence, insight, and persistence, through increasingly responsible positions, including executive coordinator to the superintendent president and board of trustees, and to manager, office of the president and board of trustees, and ultimately chief of staff, demonstrating an unwavering dedication to the college. And whereas Catherine's sharp analytical mind, strategic acumen, and deep understanding of institutional operations have made her an indispensable advisor and thought partner to executive leadership, contributing meaningfully to college governance, planning, and communication. And whereas her clarity of vision, organizational expertise, and calm under pressure were especially vital during critical times, including a global pandemic and major technology transitions, always ensuring continuity of operations, steadfast support for employees, and a focus on the college's mission. And whereas Catherine has consistently demonstrated the college's core values, honesty, integrity, accountability, and respect, while serving as a source of stability, insight, and good humor for colleagues across departments and roles. And whereas her unwavering dedication to both institutional excellence and individual well-being has earned her deep admiration as a colleague, trusted mentor, and friend, her legacy at Napa Valley College will endure in the system she helped build, the people she inspired, and the high standards she set. Can you please move it up, please, Catherine, so I can read the bottom? Oh,
Yeah, I did. I think.
sorry. Thank you. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees and the Napa Valley College community extend their heartfelt appreciation and admiration to Catherine Kittle for her extraordinary service and leadership, and wish her the very best in her well-earned retirement, filled with joy and new adventures.
Thank you. It's been a real honor and a real pleasure to work with all of you. I really appreciate you. I also just have been thinking a lot lately of my colleagues, wonderful colleagues and bosses who I've worked with throughout my career, who supported and encouraged me, including you, Torrance, and brought me to this moment in time. And here I am retiring. Anyway, thank all of you, and I really appreciate your kindness and friendship.
We look forward to celebrating you more next week, Catherine.
There's something wrong with that microphone, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna move my microphone back. That was fun. Except I didn't hear you say that we were your favorite board of trustees, Catherine. I was waiting for that. Okay, we're gonna move on to information item. Oh, was it an action? Sorry.
Move approval. Oh,
gonna let that one.
Trustee
Motion
Iverson
to-
made a motion
Second.
and trustee Dodd seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Be continued next week. Information item 10.4, institutional goals for 2024 to 2029 educational master plan. Dr. Warnall.
The first one, yeah, the recommended goal. So good evening, board, and I guess I got the short stick because I have to follow Catherine's recognition. So let's see. So good evening, and I'm here to present the goals associated with the educational master plan metrics. Over 5 meetings during the spring semester, the planning committee reviewed recent performance data and had robust conversations about factors that might impact future performance on the EMP metrics in both positive and negative ways. And as part of the process, faculty co-chair of the planning committee, Amanda Badgett, reached out to members of the campus community who have expertise in these areas that are associated with the metrics. For example, counselors and English faculty would be a couple of the key stakeholders and experts. And she contacted them to get additional context to help inform the work of the planning committee. So I'll give kind of an example of that. So for the dual enrollment metrics, as an example, then the proportion of our students that are engaged in dual enrollment has grown by leaps and bounds in the past 6 years. So it went from about 5.6% to 31.2% over a 6-year period. And that, well, that's great. That's not necessarily sustainable. We can't grow by those leaps and bounds moving forward. So we settled on a more modest goal of increasing by 4% between the baseline of 31.2% and the 4% increase by 2029. So that's to give you a little bit of about the process that we use to land on these goals. So at the final meeting in May, the planning committee recommended goals for 17 metrics in the EMP. And those are all associated with the first 3 goals of the EMP, covering enrollment stabilization, equitable student outcomes, and alignment with regional labor market. We also recommended goals for 15 metrics where disproportionate impact was found. So it did take 5 meetings because there were about 32 metrics to cover in that. So all of the metrics are drawn directly from the educational master plan, and to remain true to the spirit of the EMP, all of the stated goals involve increasing performance over the 5-year period that's covered by the EMP. So the document that Catherine has projected here identifies the institutional goals for the EMP. And for each of these tables, the first column identifies the metric, followed by the baseline performance, which has been updated based on new sources that have been identified, and particularly as the Chancellor's Office is rolling out their new data platform called Data Vista. So the data source is listed in the 3rd column, and then we have the goal statement. And each goal statement is structured along, say, by 2029, we will increase performance on whatever metric, and it's describing there by X% or Y%. So the amount of growth that we are setting as a goal is identified within each statement. We will be using the goal statements to frame planning activities in the coming years at both the institutional and program levels. And we'll also be monitoring performance on the metrics through an annual report on the EMP. And one thing to emphasize, and this was emphasized during the planning committee meetings as well, is that these are internal goals and they're intended to provide a way for us to evaluate our performance, kind of a yardstick, if you will. And we are not required to report performance on these metrics to an external agency, except for those that might align with the chancellor's office metrics, but we don't necessarily have to report our goals. And there is no penalty if we do not achieve these goals in the coming years, or if we don't achieve some of them. Finally, now I'm going to shift to the other document, Catherine. I want to call your attention to the second document that was attached to this agenda item. And this is an excerpt taken from the planning handbook, which the planning committee produced this year. The need for a planning handbook was identified back in 2021 when we completed our institutional self-evaluation report for accreditation, and we were able to deliver the planning handbook this year. So what this is a graphic describing, or an infographic that describes the process that the planning committee used to develop the institutional goals. And on the top left corner, we began with the review of 5 to 6 years of data for each of the metrics. And then we recommend them to Dr. Powell. And after that, we will monitor performance, as I mentioned, on the metrics annually, and we will also identify strategies for improvement. And as indicated on the graphic here, this process is iterative, and we will establish new goals associated with the next EMP following a similar process. These goals will be shared more broadly with the campus community in the fall semester, and they will be incorporated into our local planning processes, including the annual planning and resource allocation process and program review. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Wardle. Information item 10.5, update on DEI activities and accomplishments for 2025. Dr. Munsami.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Powell, members of the Cabinet. I am very happy to share with you an update on activities around diversity, equity, and inclusion that have been undertaken this academic year. Catherine, if you'll slide, please. This is just an overview of the topics that are to be covered in this presentation. Because of time, I'm going to, go quickly over some of these. There will be more extended updates next semester on some of the items, but I just want to bring you up to date on where we are on some of these things. Next slide, please. So in the area of strategic planning, work that we're undertaking right now is related to the student equity plan. So we've been undergoing some assessment of what we were able to achieve during the period of the last student equity plan, which extended from 2022 to 2025. And we're undertaking the development of the student equity plan for the next 3 years. That will cover the period from 2025 to 2028. So what's interesting with the guidance that we have from the Chancellor's office this year in developing the student equity plan is that there are many things that are going to be remaining the same in terms of guidelines for the student equity plan, but there are also some new areas that they want campuses to attend to. And this is with regard to Vision 2030 goals. So Vision 2030 goals, there are 3 broad areas of activity: equity and access, and this relates to how colleges are broadening the opportunities for students to access higher education by starting at a community college. Equity and success, which attends to completion, baccalaureate attainment, workforce outcome, living wage. So that's something that we haven't really thought about in past student equity plans, is tracking how well our students are doing in terms of their income earning capacity. A third area is equity and support. So maximizing financial aid and reducing units to completion. So this is really speaking to how much time are students spending at community colleges, you know, before they're moving on to the next level of their professional journey. And how much are we able to support them so that they can get through that faster, right? So where we're at so far with this process is we're starting to look at our disproportionate impact data. We're having discussions about how we are going to select the populations that we're going to focus upon. The data that we have from the Chancellor's office is only part of what we have to consider. So the Chancellor's office leaves it up to colleges to also consider other types of data in their decision about which populations are going to be supported through the student equity plan. So my plan in overseeing this process is to integrate the student equity plan with strategic priorities of the college, while continuing to provide targeted support to historically disproportionately impacted populations. I want us to be able to continue the momentum that we've gained from the last student equity plan. And so I'll provide more information to you in the fall about where we're at with this process, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of where we're at with that. Next slide, please. Okay, that is the next slide. The equity framework. So the district diversity, equity, and inclusion committee has worked extensively on the development of an equity framework for Napa Valley College. And this framework will enable us to operationalize the Equity of Napa Valley document that I shared with you last year. This was a document that defined what we mean by equity and also identified core principles for advancing equity at the college. So our next step is to develop a framework so that this is not just a document that sits on a shelf, but that we're actually engaging in practice to advance our institution with our equity-minded practices. We are using the Achieving the Dream Equity Toolkit to develop a framework for individual and institutional level reflection on equity progress. We have worked to integrate the equity framework and also the Chancellor's Office DEIA competencies framework. So that will be built into the equity framework. And again, I'll share more information with you in the fall semester. Once we have a good working draft available, we're going to share this with the constituent group senates and the president's cabinet. And then I'll also bring a report to the board. Next slide, please. In the area of campus climate, we have now completed 3 campus climate surveys. These surveys were developed and administered by the University of Southern California, the National Assessment of Collegiate Campus Climates. So they did surveys with students, with non-instructional staff, and with faculty. We received and evaluated the data on students and non-instructional staff. We've just received the faculty data. And so the DEI committee hasn't had a chance to review and discuss that data. We're going to do that when we reconvene in the fall. But we have created a draft campus climate recommendation document. We're going to incorporate the findings and recommendations based on the faculty survey data. And then we'll share that information with the campus community, the president's cabinet, constituent groups, and I'll bring that information to you also in the fall. So an exciting area of activity for the college is the development of affinity groups. Affinity groups promote feelings of inclusion, sense of belonging. They aid in professional development. There are opportunities for networking. And we also see the affinity groups at Napa Valley College as a support system for our students who are members of marginalized communities. And so having that as a network that's available to students to support them and enhance their feelings of inclusion and belonging and well-being, and ultimately positively impact their professional success here, their educational and professional success. This is a target outcome that was in the last student equity plan. These affinity groups are being funded by the DEI office. Dr. Smith and I attended a conference which was hosted by Sierra College to learn about best practices in supporting affinity groups or employee resource groups, as there's different structures for how you develop an affinity group, and an employee resource group is a particular kind of structure. So since that conference, we have established the Pan-African Collective Affinity Group, and we've had a couple of meetings. This effort is being coordinated by Dr. Smith. The Queer Affinity Group is being established. It's going to hold its first meeting this month. That's being coordinated by Jenna Sanders. And the Raíces Affinity Group is a group that existed actually a few years ago. And with COVID and the challenges of the college, it kind of fell by the wayside. But Dr. Guerrero is going to be reconvening Raíces. So we're going to have 3 functional, operational affinity groups, and that's going to be a great boost to the college in terms of what we can offer to the college for promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, so I'm going to skip over the diversity, equity, and inclusion professional learning page. The information is here. I want to get to some information on the Culturally Responsive Pedagogy and Practices Grant. This is a grant, this one, yeah. So this is a grant received by the college from the Chancellor's office. It was a 2-year grant. We've received the approval for a 3rd year of activity under this grant. And this is focusing on activity in the classrooms. How are faculty incorporating pedagogical approaches that, time's up. How are the faculty approaching pedagogical approaches that will make better environments for students to learn and to be successful? So we've continued with activities into year 3, and in year 3, we're going to, an exciting thing is that we're going to be engaging in a field trip to Native American reservations, the Cocopah and Quetzon reservations in Southern California. We're exploring collaboration opportunities with Los Angeles Community College and Cosumnes River College on this effort. And what this will do is it will allow the faculty to engage in experiential learning, about Indigenous populations, because one of the focuses of the grant is conceptualizing indigeneity and applying that. And then this falls in line with our student equity plan also, and a focus on Native American students that were identified in our last SEP. So I'm going to stop here because I know that there's a lot still on the agenda, but the report is in board docs, and there's very exciting information there about some of our cultural spaces initiatives. And I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants more information about that. And I'll just say that we've got some really exciting work happening at the college. So thank you. And I'm open to any questions that you may have. And if not at this time, feel free to email me, reach out to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Musami, for all the valuable work you're doing here at the college and in the community. I appreciate your partnership on some of the committees I'm on in the community, like the Black History Month Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Okay, we are now skipping back ahead to president and board reports. So president and cabinet reports.
Good evening. I'm very excited to share some good news with you all tonight. So I want to report on our efforts for zero textbook cost materials for our students. So we commonly refer to this as ZTC, and in your HR packets, you might be seeing a lot of stipends for faculty around this. We're very lucky and blessed to have received significant funds from the state to support faculty work in implementing ZTC on a broader scale on our campus. And of course, having zero textbook costs for many of our course sections really removes barriers for students for whom that might have been a challenge to cover the cost of a textbook. And that may have prevented them from taking a class or from taking more classes than they thought they could afford. So the small chart you can see on this page reflects our work over the last 2 years. So in fall of 2023, we had a couple of handfuls of course sections that were designated ZTC. There were 57. We've been expanding each year with a little bit of a difference in spring 25. Spring 24, we had 93, 112 in fall 24, 103 in spring, this past spring. But in fall 25, we have grown quite exponentially to 281 sections, which is a little over half of all of our course sections. So this is a really significant change. And we do have more than 30 faculty who are currently working on summer projects to either create, adapt, or adopt ZTC materials for their classes. And one thing that we've implemented as well is icons on the course schedule. If we could scroll down a tiny bit, Catherine, please. Thank you. Icons on the course schedule. So on the left-hand side, you see the ZTC icon. That means no cost for the textbook. On the right side, there's a low textbook cost icon. We've been using the ZTC icon for the past 2.5 years. The low textbook cost icon is being implemented for fall 2025. And that has been defined as $40 or less. So when some textbooks are in the realm of $120, $150, $190, even the low textbook cost designation is a significantly helpful support for students. I did a quick estimate of what this means for students based on the 281 sections, assuming our average of 24 students per section at about $75 per class. In aggregate, that comes to more than $500,000 in savings for students for the semester. And that's probably a little bit conservative because among our projects for fall, the most costly textbook that's being replaced was $194 pre-tax. So this is a really important cost savings for students. But as a teacher of 25 years, I feel very fundamentally that it's also critically important for learning, because one of the biggest challenges in the first few weeks of the semester, there were always a couple of students who couldn't afford to buy the textbook. And the loss that they had in not having that access and feeling a little bit behind, that's not a great way to start the semester. So one of the critical benefits of ZTC is that students have those textbooks available to them from day one. So this is not only a contributor to their pocketbook, but also to their learning. I'll have more updates as we continue to expand. Thank you.
I have a question about that. So if it says there's no cost, that doesn't mean there's no textbook. It just means the textbook's free?
It's free. So most of them are on, there are a couple of different platforms that house online educational resources. And faculty do have options which platform they prefer. Some of our faculty are developing their own materials. So they're, the things that they've done entirely themselves. Some of them are adapting. OpenStax, for example, allows you to combine. If you see one physics textbook and another physics textbook, and this one has 3 chapters that are fantastic, and that one has 2 that are great, you can combine them to make the best physics textbook for your class. So some are doing that adapting, and then others are doing a straight adoption. So there'll be an existing online educational resource that they think fits their need, and they will just start using it. So instead of listing the name of the textbook on a syllabus, they'll provide the link to the electronic resource that students can immediately go to.
Are we double checking that those resources are adequately accessible for students who need accommodations like audiobooks and things like that?
Yes, that's a great question. So we have a fabulous librarian who is helping with checking accessibility and ensuring that we're also following copyright law and other important things. Karen Hunter is our librarian lead for this, and she's been fabulous. So, yes.
Good evening, board. I want to start off today by lifting up a couple of the important activities we've been doing in student affairs. Over this last month of May, we held a few different activities as the Strong Start in-person orientations. You might remember these back in the day. They were the mega orientations or the in-person orientations that we would do for our local schools and community members. We brought this back for a couple of reasons, because we know how important the in-person access for our students is. We also want to make sure we connected with our community and start really working on building that one-to-one relationship with our staff, our frontline staff, our counselors, and students. So over the extent of 2 days, May 21st and May 28th, we served 175 students from local high schools. Also offer Spanish speaking support to really reinforce the cultural responsiveness and accessibility of our students. And through that time, the counselors and staff met with students, did a kind of overall just general orientation, but then got to work with them individually, developed ed plans, helped them register for their classes, and connected students with over 20 different support programs on campus through a resource fair. So a great activity. We fed the students, as always. Anytime we bring students to campus or we engage with them, we believe in feeding them, connecting them, and we hope to continue this practice moving forward. So the Strong Start orientations are the beginning of what we hope to be an ongoing connection to our schools and much more in that in-person component. I want to talk about an initiative that we're doing in student affairs along with groups across campus. This is the 15 to Finish initiative. You may have heard about this initiative already, but I want to bring it to your attention. This is a national initiative, actually. Dr. Powell brought this to our attention. And over this last semester, we did a lot of research to look deeper at what the 15 to Finish initiative is. But basically what this is, in a nutshell, is really prompting, supporting students to take 15 units per semester, or as many as they can take, to help them to reach their educational goals much quicker. So what does this do? It eliminates their time to graduation, will hopefully save them money on tuition and fees, and just provide students a much more clear path towards that goal, really aligning with what we've identified in our educational master plan, especially goal number 1 and goal number 2. It also aligns with the Vision 2030 plan of the Chancellor's Office. So Student Affairs is working developed with constituent groups across campus, including the Student Advisory Committee, to produce a plan that will really work towards implementation through next year. So you'll hear more about the 15th to Finish initiative, but we're very excited about this initiative and moving forward with being able to implement that. Want to bring your attention to Vision Aligned Reporting. Vision Aligned Reporting is a new system launched by the Chancellor's Office, really around data collection. And it's a way for us to collect data and really kind of across different programs and really look for themes, especially around student outcomes, with the goal of making sure that programs are talking with each other, connecting with each other. The data is helping them to make decisions in the most equitable way. This is a new initiative the Chancellor's Office has begun. Napa Valley College is in the midst of this, targeting as a pilot this next year,
really our student support programs. So I have a list there you can look at to see who's participating in this. And I want to just lift up also that Napa Valley College has been, we've been selected to join the Vision and Line Reporting Academy, which is a specific professional development that will be offered for community colleges around how we implement vision and line reporting throughout this next year. So we're excited about that. Tomorrow, actually, a team of us will be going to Sacramento to do some deeper dive training on VAR. So you'll hear more about this throughout the next year, but this is an exciting way to engage in data. And finally, I want to end with River Trail, just give you some overall pictures of where we are. Obviously, we are in summer, so this is the transition period for River Trail, which means that many students are coming in as others are leaving. Currently, our occupancy rate's right around 31.87% or 2%, which means the rate's right around 167 or so students. Again, what's happening here is we're seeing students who are coming in they're leaving the college, and many that are coming in. Many leases are in process right now, or in progress to bring into for the fall semester. Want to just continue to lift up how important the community is over at River Trail Village, and even over summer, how the team out there is really working towards really creating that really powerful residential life experience. Continue to have community craft nights, student parent support groups continue to meet, and there'll be an all campus mixer on June 26th. So lots of activities happening out there. We continue to have a robust marketing discussion and working on really targeted intentional planning to bring in even more students. So that concludes my report.
Good evening. In the Office of Human Resources, Title IX and Civil Rights, we have a couple of things coming up. We're offering trauma-informed training to members of our BIRT and Title IX team. We're looking forward to this as we are building our support team through BIRT, which is the Bias Education Response team, as well as our Title IX team. Additionally, we're going to be holding our new employee orientation on August the 19th. If you are available, that's on a Tuesday. Please join us in welcoming recently hired staff. I also want to take time in my very brief report here. I want to thank Catherine Kittle for her time here at Napa Valley College. You have been an excellent partner through so many different seasons, and I am going to miss commemorating some of the things you and I have gone through over the years. I'm going to miss you. Thank you.
Charles, you stole my thunder. That's what I was going to lead with. I'll reiterate the same points and just speak just from a more personal perspective. I know that, when I first arrived on campus, we had quite a few things to do. And there were a few challenges that we really encountered. And you said something to me early on that stuck with me the whole time that I've had the privilege of working with you. And that's that at one point you were contemplating just retiring and walking away, but you felt such a deep sense of commitment to Napa Valley College. And, you also mentioned that you didn't want to put me as a new president in that situation where, I not only did not have a permanent VPSS with Dr. G filling that role, and we also had an interim vice president of academic affairs, and didn't have a permanent executive assistant, and so that would have been essentially 4 very critical positions that either someone was there interim or was not there, and you stuck through. And I think we encountered a lot of really challenging moments in the first year. But we stuck through, we persisted. And, I made a commitment and promise to you that if we just stick through it, that I promise you things will get better. Right. And I think that things have gotten a lot better. And that's in no small part due to the work and the commitment and the passion that you do that goes oftentimes unseen because it's detail work, it's process work. These are things that many of us, eyes glaze over when we start talking around some of these things, but they're critical to keep the organization functioning. And you perform those duties with professionalism, with a positive attitude, and just exceptional output. And so I just want to say, from a personal perspective, I appreciate you. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you well on the next phase of your retirement. So.
Thank you, Torrance. It's been great working with you. And we got you on your feet.
That's right.
Now I can go.
Fight best effort sometimes. The only other piece that I'll just say is, I just want to say thank you to the board for your continued support, for the extension on the contract. The work that we do collectively together, I think, does a lot for the community. So thank you for your support. And that concludes the president's area reports.
All right. Thank you all. Standing committee and other appointment reports. Trustee Dillon isn't here tonight, and so she obviously doesn't have a report, but I just wanted to congratulate her on being reelected to the CCCT board for a second term. Trustee Iverson, do you have a DOS report? Trustee Rios, do you have a VWT report? Trustee Dodd, do you have a foundation report? Okay, all right, moving right along. Any requests for future agenda items?
I have a request. It's not for a specific item, but I just would like us to make an effort moving forward that when we have reports that include slides with color, that we make certain that they're ADA compliant. Because this is how we're sharing information with the community and just something we're legally required to do. Trustee Baker, do you have those requirements somewhere that we can take a look at maybe and share? Yeah. Thank you. Our next meeting will be a special meeting on June 18th, next Wednesday, board retreat. And then our regular next meeting will be on July 17th. And Catherine, Trustee Dodd had a fun idea for you to adjourn the meeting tonight. Would you like to do that? Would you like to use our gavel? Oh, they're not even trustee and chair, trustee and board reports.
Not
You still
doing
want
it
to keep
right.
going? We can do a whole hour of reports. All right, thank you. One last time correcting me before you're done. All right, sorry about that. Back to trustee and board chair reports. Student trustee Dizon, do you have anything to share? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Strong resounding no. Trustee Kishinev?
I have nothing to report.
Trustee Baker?
I went to the Puente celebration to round out the last of the graduation stuff and then was here for grad night. I think that was only just last week. Oh my God. 850 grads. It was fabulous and a wonderful article in the Register if you missed it. Also this morning I was able to be a fly on the wall for the 50% law training. So I really appreciated that additional insight, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Dodd?
That last piece was just so Catherine Kittle. And Catherine, you are a rock. And you've been the rock, the foundation for this board for as long as I've been here. So I can definitely speak from my experience, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Especially when I first started on the board, there's so much transition going on. And you were the rock and did it with a smile and positive energy and being upbeat, no matter the fact that, in times when we were getting beat up, you were getting individually beat up and really, I'm sorry to say this in a public, but very, tough stuff, and unfair stuff. And you just held your head high. The resolution of just paying attention to those words, just honesty, integrity, and positivity, all those just are so telling of you and your personality, both in here in the work, at the college and then outside too. You're just getting to know you a little bit over the past few years. It's been wonderful. And I'm at the same time, when I heard the news that you were going to retire, it's like, like just so just at this point, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm also just so happy for you too. And so excited for you, because you've given us so much. And I want you to have, I want you to have everything and more and really, enjoy this, incredible next phase when you've got, so much going on and so much to do and so much to explore. And so congratulations and thank you very much. And I look forward to saving more, like 10 minutes, 20-minute speech, on Wednesday of next week too. So be prepared.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. Trustee Iverson?
Man, I'm just gonna save it for next week, but Catherine, it's been a pleasure. 11 and a half years. We've been through quite a bit. So lots of stories and appreciate all your hard work.
Trustee Rios?
I have no report, but I'm not going to say anything next week. I'm still in denial that you're leaving. I would reiterate everything that Jeff has said. I've been here the whole time while you've been here. And whenever I think about the district and the college and coming here to the meetings, you're always in those thoughts. It's like Catherine is there. She's, as Jeff said, you're the rock. You were that person that you kind of take comfort in. Well, Catherine's there. She knows what we need to do. She knows what needs to happen. And, that's how I've felt this whole time. You just solid, you could always count on you to help us through everything. So I'm still in denial that you're leaving. I'm not going to say anything next week. I'm going to try to extend that. I'm not going to sign the resolution. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So
What I think he's saying is you might want to change your phone number.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Rios.
All right, I just reiterate all the comments. I've been here, Jason and I are the newbies still, 3 years now. But I couldn't have done this without you just guiding me, and you've been a great mentor for all things board related. And I just really appreciate your support, your mentorship, and I'm very excited to hear about what you're going to do next. I'm going to live vicariously through you in this next phase. So congratulations.
Thank you. You've done a great job.
Thank you. Would you like to close this out now? Would you like to adjourn the meeting?
If there are no objections, this meeting is adjourned at 7:56 p.m.
Yay.